So yesterday we started this chapter. Well, we defined certain terms like productivity. Productivity is a bit define exactly is a bit difficult because there are certain from which point of view. What is the point of view which you are looking at the issue? So what is good for in one aspect, it may not fare well in another aspect. Say, for example, we have seen that yesterday that sometimes this is what you call you have total factor productivity, partial, and then specific, right? Partial measures are there, multi-factor measures are there, and total measures are there. And incidentally, the productivity, the formula is same as efficiency. Only thing is here in efficiency normally we take numerator and denominator, they should be of the same units. Whereas productivity sometimes it need not be. Like so, and also there is a time aspect. So that's why sometimes people define productivity as efficiency times effectiveness. So that definition is also there. So effectiveness in the sense how quickly I told you example of like the most efficient mode of transportation is cycling. It is more efficient than even walking, human walking, because the per unit energy that is consumed per kilometer energy consumed per kg of load carried, cycling consumes very less energy than even walking. Like a person taking a 10 kg load on his head, walking for a certain distance, he consumes actually more than the same person cycling down to the same distance, because in cycling only rolling friction is there. Whereas in a normal walking there are so many complicated muscle movements in the walking, the person ends up using more energy to carry a given amount of load to, for a certain distance. So, but even though cycling is a very efficient mode of transportation, but at the same time, it is not productive. In the sense, for certain things, like if some state minister has to go to Delhi, because cycling is a most efficient one, he will cycle down to Delhi, right? He has to, since his time is very precious, probably he can do more and more productive job if he goes by flight, right? So, like yeah, depending on the context, you have to use. Like for example, maybe cycling is a better option for the postmaster rather than doing it uh, with a motorcycle. All right, in particularly in a village atmosphere where the access to petrol, diesel may not be available. But though there the contest and the time is there is a lot of time available. So depending on the context, you have to choose the appropriate combination of resources, right? So here, what we have say like if to increase productivity, we want to make this ratio of outputs to inputs as large as practical. So see, sometimes uh, at the cost of somebody, like in olden days, like they used to harass people to get things done, like through slavery, through subjugation. So that is not a good option. So And also, as he said, like it is a relative measure. So again, there is nothing like uh, at least, say for example, efficiency. When we say like efficiency, when you want to compare an IC engine, suppose you have come up with a new IC engine, what you do is you estimate the efficiency, and what is the standard efficiency that with which you compare? Any guess for efficiency of an IC engine? What is the benchmark efficiency with which you compare?
Carnot engine.
Yeah, Carnot engine, right? Because that is an ideal one. But unfortunately, when it comes to productivity, there is no actually uh, benchmark, right? So you have to. Uh, um, it is a relative. What you do, for example, you want to compare the productivity levels of uh, in relation to with somebody else. So, for example, you want to compare the productivity levels of Toyota production system and the Ford production systems. How much, like for example, the productivity may be compared in terms of what you call labor productivity, material productivity, capital productivity. Like you take all these three major resources like labor, capital, and material. So labor productivity means like for a say like Toyota may be employing say 1 lakh employees, and for using these 1 lakh employees, how many cars they are turning out per year from various plants, and you compare this with the Ford. What is the total number of? So what is the per capita car production of Toyota vis-a-vis with Toyota with the Ford, GM, Tesla, right? Just comparing labor productivity may not give you a complete picture. Only with respect to that particular input resource we are talking about, right? So capital productivity, see, one is efficient in capital labor productivity, but they may not fare well in capital productivity. That means they may not able to, like for produce one car per year, how much investment they are making, total investment. What is the per capita investment that they have made to come up with one car? So like that, like we so there are partial productivity measures, and then uh, so you have partial productivity measures, and then coming to next point. So you can see this like partial productivity can be output by labor, output by capital, materials, energy, right? Similarly, multi-factor may be, anyway, we have discussed all these things yesterday, and also we discussed this example. So here, multi-factor measures means like 13,500 by, see, all are converted into dollar terms here because for a better comparison. So in this, we see that. Uh, so here we see that uh, total, when it comes to total measure, the company is not doing well. It is producing, it is below one, which is not a good sign. So uh, probably like I think these people, it may be a profitable entity right now, but still something can be done, right? Somewhere because he's saying like dividends. Dividends is a sign of profit, right? But uh, maybe somewhere he has um, he is not doing well actually. All right, so
Sir,
productivity is
his capital is very high, sir. $10,000. It is
uh,
capital is there. So finished unit should have much more than that to earn a profit.
uh, see uh, see see it is not that way, you know. um, See, like for example, this is dollars now. So in foreign, what happens is that the interest rates are very, very high, low, say 4%, 5%. So in that way, capital is not so costly in matured economies. Like in fact, like if you take a matured economy like Japan, the capital is sometimes it is very cheap, like 1%. Whereas in India, because we have an inflation of 6% now, so automatically our interest rates are around 12% or 15%. So in US or Japan, the interest rates are also correspondingly less. Inflation is also less. All right.
Okay, sir.
Uh, Now coming to say, so this is the how you calculate the various ways to calculate the productivity, and it is always relative. Relative means for the same kind of company, how their competitors are facing. Say, for example, in this respect, their competitor might be may have maybe operating at 1.1, all right, or here it may be 5. So it is always relative, you know. So now coming to other kind of measures, partial measures. So, for example, if you take a restaurant, customers per labor hour, right? So, how many meals the the restaurant is serving for a given labor hour? So, how you get how you get labor hour means number of employees into number of shifts per day, and for each shift, how many hours? All right. Similarly, retail store. So sales per square foot. Chicken farm. So this is also interesting. Chicken farm, how you are measuring the productivity is how much LB of meat, pounds of meat per pound of feed you are putting it into the chicken farm. So utility plant. So kilowatt hours per ton of coal use. Like if you take, for example, utility plant like NTPC, so which is a coal-based plant. So you will know like you have monthly or yearly uh, how much coal you are consuming and what is the total amount of kilowatt hours that the NTPC is producing. And from that itself, you will know like what is the efficiency or the productivity with which the plant is working. So similarly, paper mill, tons of paper per hod of wood. So these are some of the partial measures of productivity. And now coming to, if you see the per capita GDP of certain countries, so say this may be say 2000. See this may be uh, 2020, right? One. No, not 19. So you can see that Luxembourg has a, a GDP of $1,19,000 per capita GDP. So whereas Norway comes the second, Switzerland. So you can see that generally how different countries. So you find that only one Asian country is there out of top 10, right? And a bit semi-Asian country is Qatar. The rest of the this comes under Middle East, right? Singapore is a Southeast Asian country, but otherwise the most of the per capita high per capita GDP countries are dominant in Europe, and then Australia is in a, but none of the countries from South America, right? Africa are listed here, right? So, so let us compare with that with our situation as a nation. How productive we are. So we are now at 107, and I think we have gone a bit down, right? Because in 2018 we were 105, and then there is a slight uh, low. So that means this right now we have a per capita GDP of 2289. That means roughly say 2300. But when we compare with Luxembourg, we are nowhere. We are nowhere, and Ireland is having a okay. So you can see that we are very poor country. So why we are poor? See, there are so many reasons for it. See, as an economy, we are not we have not designed our economy for high growth from the beginning. We believed in socialistic ideals. We were aping Soviet Union, China, and then what Abhilash Reddy? What is your comment?
Sir, whatever the data here, is it in dollars or in rupees?
Dollars. Yeah. Actually, there is another way to measure per capita GDP. People are using what is so called PPP, triple P, purchasing power parity. As per that
India is better.
calculation, we are around say $5,000, because see, this is in real dollar terms. So we are slightly a bit better if we compare by PPP, and so actually, but finally, what comes to situation is like people can say like how much you have exported, how much you are able to generate. See, even though there is a lot of criticism on this kind of measurement, but still somewhere we have to start measurement now. So we can't keep quiet. So, so at least we have two modes of calculating, two ways of calculating per capita GDP. One is PPP, purchasing power parity. That is like they compare a basket of goods, how they are costly, for how much they are being sold. In fact, like certain magazines like The Economist, they have come up with what is so called Big Mac index. So Big Mac index is another one, because you know this McDonald's Big Mac, it is sold in almost 180 countries in the world, right? So what they do is they compare that Big Mac how it is sold in US, they take that as the benchmark, and they try to see like how for how much that same Big Mac is being sold in every country, and whether that is being sold at whether it is it is overpriced or underpriced as per that US cost. So, for example, they have found that uh, Big Mac is very costly in Luxembourg compared with US one. So that is overpriced, whereas in India it is underpriced, right? For the same content. So, like we have people and people have come up with some other alternative ways of calculating the productivity of a country by coming with human development index like that. But anyway, but by default, when it comes to finding out the richness of a country, they use only the per capita GDP based on real dollar terms. So when we are using that as a benchmark, so we are somewhere we have 107 rank, and when compared with the top one, so we are 1 by 30th, or I don't know. Yeah, 1 by 30th of the richest country. So we are very poor country, right? So let us see like what are the reasons for it. Let us go in why we are in such a sad affairs. Okay, so for low productivity, it can be like we are highly bureaucratic country, right? We call it the license Raj. See, we never trusted our businessmen. There is so much. Even we were suspecting a person like JRD Tata, his intention. So what happened in when Indira Gandhi was there? He took over the mm, Air India, saying that a private company should not run, and every country should have a national carrier on its name. So what happened? So they have taken over Air India, which is being run in a very efficient way. Finally, government of India by bulldozing, they have taken over Air India. Now what is happening now? After a long negotiations, government government of India has is ready to bear around 30,000 crores of debt, absorb those 30,000 crores, and Air India is being again brought by the same original owner, Tatas. So we have to thank Ratan Tata for buying such a highly debted company. See, unless you are a very great patriotic, you don't do that kind of job. Buying your own company after 40 years. That is the pity. See, that's how like we have wasted money, a lot of money. See, I told you now, like our government is highly bureaucratic. They never allow people. If you want to start your own business, it will take hell of a time. By the time you get your all the permissions cleared, finally your entire enthusiasm is gone. That is why people call it as license Raj. Right? So license Raj is a like it means like the government babu, like IAS officers and all these people, they think that they are supermans. They think that they can do everything, anything without any responsibility. So that resulted in like a government taking over. Not only they have taken over profit making airlines during that time, during the socialistic propaganda, they have taken over banking system. Then they have taken over, they started doing what you call, they have started hotels, they have started steel plants. And see, that is where we have plundered our opportunity, right? So and then coming to second point is enforcement of copyright and patent laws. Like we
Hello, sir.
in 1990,
Hello, sir.
yeah,
Like, isn't the role of the politicians or the elected representatives to see the pros and cons of the decisions taken? Like you said that bureaucrats uh, set those decisions, na sir.
yeah.
Like politicians should review them, na sir.
No. See, bureaucrats also are equally responsible in the sense they want power. They were once Varprasad Reddy of this Shanta Biotech, he was narrating sometimes the waiting time on the outside of IAS officer is very, very irritating. Irritating, sometimes it seems he will just say scoundrel, get lost. That kind of words. So, like you don't know, like certain IAS officers behave in a very arrogant way because their job is secure, no one can fire them. So some kind of arrogance will creep in, and that kind of arrogance ultimately results in. See, for example, we never allowed like if you take Ellen Mittal, Lakshmi Nivas Mittal, that guy when he tried to start a steel plant in India, they said like there is no vacancy. Already we have Rourkela steel plant, Durgapur and Tata. There is no. So then what Lakshmi Nivas Mittal did is he went to Indonesia to set up his steel plant. And he made a lot of money. So then after that he went to he went on to purchase one good plant which is in losses in Kazakhstan, and he made a lot of money. And finally, that fellow made so much money, he brought that Arcelor. Now, now that company is the big world's fourth or fifth largest steel company, ArcelorMittal. You have such a beautiful entrepreneurs. They want to start industries. Finally, though, all those guys were driven out from the country, right? In the name of this license, in the name of like for example, even you take a Bajaj scooter in during our childhood, the bureaucracy is so high. Like the Bajaj people were never allowed to produce more than say 6 lakh scooters per year. Even though they can sell 10 lakh scooters per year, they said they were given a license to produce only 6 lakh. Similarly, Tisco, Telco, all these people are given some licenses to produce certain volumes only. If Normally, in a free economy, volumes are decided by the markets, not governments. See, that is how like we have lost that knack for doing business because over a period of see even all sorts of nuisance they have created na? In India. See that uh, instead of market forces deciding the winner, government used to decide who is the winner by restricting the people to start industry, but as even restricting the people who are already there in the meeting, already there in the market. Like Bajaj scooter fellow should not produce more than 6 lakh scooters. Then his competitor Lambretta, more than not, they should not produce more than 3. Similarly, Ashok Leyland, they should not produce more than 2 lakh uh, lorries, trucks. That kind of license Raj used to exist only during only when PV Narasimha Rao took over in 1990. He and Manmohan Singh they said like enough is enough. So they have liberalized the Indian economy by abolishing this license and allowing foreign competitors into India. Prior to 1990, if it is a car, only 2 companies used to be there, Fiat and Maruti. Similarly, like in most of the industries. So we have, that's why now Modi is encouraging industries, but it is almost too late for people to catch up. All over the world, because how they have allowed Fiat is they said like we will share all that technology, and they have delinked from the original parent company Fiat. It was like just like L&T. L&T is a Larsen and Toubro is a Swedish company. Finally, Indian people have taken over. Similarly, just like ITC, instead of calling it as Imperial Tobacco Company, now they have said like Indian Tobacco Company, and now it is entirely Indian company because the foreign people have sold out their equity, so they have nothing to do with Indian, right? So this is what I am saying. Like our government used to be very bureaucratic. Now we're allowing freedom to. Only after 1990 only people started liberalizing the license Raj, this license Raj, and then only after 1990 our Indian companies started buying foreign firms like Tata is buying Tetley company, tea company. Tata is buying Chorus, right? Tata is buying Land Rover, which is we never dreamt that we will be buying Jaguar and Land Rover. So they were trying to revive the UK plant, Tata's. So only when we have liberated in 1990, as late as 1990, like there is a bit of prior to 1990, people were joking about our economy growth. They used to call it as Hindu economy growth because it never used to cross the 3% annually. Now we are seeing 6%. In fact, like during Manmohan Singh Prime Minister, he even went to 9 or 10. Right? Now it is hovering around 6% or 7%. The GDP growth. Right? And even if you are growing at 6%, we are likely to reach the per capita GDP of say US maybe in maybe 2045. right? That is the time we are going to take to. I think by 2045 means almost it is the time when most of you might be on the verge of retirement. Okay, so I may have gone from this. So, so then here, what is that like? Yeah. So poor enforcement of copyright and patent laws. Like even now, see, we never care for copyrights here. We shamelessly Xerox a textbook. We shamelessly download a AR Rahman without paying any royalty. Violation of copyright and patent laws is norm, like in India. In fact, like we don't understand also. Even now, most of us never understood this beauty of respecting copyright and patent laws. Okay. Anyway, then coming to other cause can be poor infrastructure. Right, poor infrastructure, like our roads are not in good condition. Shipping, because most of them are under the government. Even state electricity boards, most of them are under the control of government. I told you in the beginning of our MSP class, now. What is that joke on government? Huh? Anybody? Boys, are you listening?
Listening, sir.
See, the joke is, if you want to kill an industry, hand over it to government, it will see its end. That is exactly what beautifully government of India did on Air India. In the name of nationalization, they have taken over Air India from JRD Tata. Poor fellow was given only 1 lakh rupees as compensation. And he never expressed his displeasure in any public forum. He is such a patriot. JRD Tata. He is such a patriot. When he is about to die, he went to France and died there because he doesn't want to disrupt anything here. And now what is happening? Now what is whatever the government has taken over, they were almost in losses. And now people are now trying to. So what is the strategy of Modi is now he is trying to sell whatever profitable government entities. Because who will buy a loss making unit except for the Tatas? Mukesh Ambani and our Adani guys will buy airlines. All right? Tatas, in spite of their own troubles, because of prestige, they have again bought their own company, spending around 16,000 crores. Okay, so anyway, so one of the reasons why our economy is not productive is because our infrastructure is poor, roads, shipping, airports, because most of them are used to be under government. Now only now government of India has allowed private entrepreneurs to handle ports. Krishnapatnam port, and like I think Adani is controlling another. What is the port that Adani has running?
Gangavaram Port.
Huh?
Gangavaram Port.
Gangavaram is now under Adani's.
There is one in Gujarat.
Huh?
Sir, Bangalore. Bangalore.
some port in Gujarat, Kandla. I think Kandla shipping port is now a private port. Similarly, now airports are given to private entrepreneurs. Prior to this situation, most of the airports used to be under government, and they are uh, very lovely. What is that? Somebody is saying?
Sir, I don't understand one thing, sir.
Ah,
Whenever our country has some disputes with other country, like
ah,
the recent one is China, for example. Uh,
ah.
India says, let's ban Chinese products, let's ban that. This people, political leaders also will support all that. But
Which
instead
one?
of fighting we don't use your products, they can compete, no sir. There are many companies who go to China for lower manufacturing cost. If
Ah.
India would be successful to negotiate with them by offering them good interest rate or some exemption of taxes and allow them to come to India for such uh, requirements like manufacturing something, or because human labor is cheaper in India also, right? Why can't
See,
they do that?
like starting an industry, running it successfully against all odds is not so simple, Satish.
No, sir, I'm not telling newer
Ah,
entrepreneurs and everything. I'm telling already stable countries, like big companies,
no,
like
no.
there are keeping many restrictions on the companies, right?
See, that is what I'm saying. See, we are not as liberal as China in inviting other companies. Say, for example, to get official clearance from government of India and state governments, it takes at least 3 months to get a complete clearance. Like because I told you na, India is a license raj even now. So you have to get the license from or clearance from local municipality, local electricity board, local pollution board. Apart from that, like to get credit from bank, that is also a huge Herculean task. See, take a country like US. Sabir Bhatia has started his Hotmail in just 3 hours. The founder of Hotmail, he said like he got all the permissions in within 3 hours. Whereas in India, if you start trying to use it, uh, trying trying to use it, he may take, if not say, he might be taking at least 10 days to get all the clearances from RBI, from local banks, and then local municipality. You see, it is not so simple. So that's why people are ready to go to China, because their uh, process is the responsibility is on the government, not on the entrepreneur. Because they said like there is a what is so called single window scheme. Single window means they give to only one fellow, and he will be after all the government departments to get the clearance, and he doesn't give the key clearance in say 10 days. They said like it is deemed to be given because it is the late done by government. So similar kind of situation is there in Singapore. So whereas here in India, the attitude is once you become a government service, once you enter into government service, you think you are a big man. You don't feel that you are a servant to the people, servant to the public, but you feel that you are a God given or somebody, God sent a kind of, and you do all the kind of filthy kind of business. That has come partially because every government servant is very, very secure in his job. And that security has brought in a lot of bad side effects. Like out of 1 crore people in India, only 2 or 3 people are dismissed every year out of service. In spite of all this kind of nonsense, right? So anyway, like this is all our own makeup, right? So and now coming to so poor infrastructure. So now roads are becoming a bit more organized because thanks to toll roads and then shipping again. So even electricity boards are now being partially privatized. Say for example, already like certain electricity boards like Delhi, Bombay, they are under private management, and also and then some wrong priorities. Like for example, wrong priorities means like uh, actually government's responsibility should be more on primary education, but instead of that, like they were starting a lot of universities, IITs, IIMs. Actually, now government should slowly is now slowly realizing this. Government is slowly realizing what you call liberalizing even education. They are allowing foreign universities to come here, and then private universities are coming here, right? But similar thing, like when it comes to primary education, actually primary education should be the primary responsibility. So free education up to 5th or 10th class is should be there. They have to put a lot of resources because for higher education, anyway, people are there to invest. Starting a medical college, like people, private entrepreneurs have a lot of money. So even genuine kind of guys like Manipal, there are they are doing well. CMC, Vellore. See, even though they are run privately, they have developed a lot of name. Okay, and then highly controlled economy leading to large scale corruption. So because of this is an outcome of uh, this one. This is highly outcome of this. So when you are given authority like to issue licenses, for issuing each license, you automatically demand some bribe, right? Actually, it should be a free economy. Government only should bother about whether that industry is a pollution kind of industry, or other aspect they should do, not for starting. And then we have a lot of underskilled labor force. Like you know, even many of the BTech born, a lot of people are taking BTech degrees, but they are unemployable because they are not, they are underskilled, right? To be absorbed by an industry. And then anyway, we have social and cultural factors. So, like for example, in certain societies, they are not entrepreneurial. In fact, most of them love joining government sector. You know, there is a a lot of social and cultural factors are also acting on us. So this could be some of the reasons I have come up. And this is my own reading of what is wrong with India. Okay, so I don't know whether how much you agree with this assessment, but this is my uh, I'm sharing my peace of mind here. And then so in the next class, what we will do is we will find out what are the normally the major reasons for low productivity in a industry. See, we have now till now discussed what are the reasons for low productivity in a country like India at, at the economy level. Then at the industry level, see, you can't do anything about license Raj. You can't do certain things, but still you can improve productivity in an industry irrespective of what is happening outside. Because the beauty of productivity, increasing productivity is you become more and more competitive vis-a-vis with your and compared with your competitors. So, so everyone should try to improve productivity. So what are the local? Let us see, like in the next class, what are the reasons for low productivity in a industry? So we have classified due to design, then process, and then ineffective management, and then ineffective time. Right. So anyway, we will talk about this aspect uh, uh, in the next class. So any questions?
Sir, how can we balance productivity? Like it's very hard, right?
Huh?
How can we improve productivity? Like, for example,
Huh?
in case of Henry Ford, we will take example.
Hmm? Huh?
We
Huh?
will take example of Henry Ford, sir. Like,
Hmm.
his problem was his main point of interest was time, right? Like
Yeah.
productivity with respect to time.
Why?
How much in how much time one car is being made. So to
Yes.
increase productivity, he like adopted a moving line assembly, and he made like 135 workstations, and he did lot
Hmm.
of stuff. But
Hmm.
before implementing, how can he be sure that this would be productive? Like for example, uh,
No, no. See,
he is
Satish.
increasing productivity with respect to time, but there is also cost, right? Cost is also increasing.
Hmm.
So productivity with respect to cost may increase or may not increase. No, sir.
Uh, Actually, if you are
Like
really
I'm telling,
productive,
if we try to rise productivity in one aspect, other
hmm.
aspect may fall rapidly or slowly or somewhat. Some will fall, no, sir.
No, no, no. See here, what exactly where the beauty of Henry Ford is, he has in fact drastically reduced the assembly time of a car.
Yes, sir.
In
Henry
12
Ford's
hours
was
to
very successful because it was completely new aspect, because a new moving line assembly was completely new concept, and it was very productive.
hmm.
But in present industry, almost
Hmm.
there are many uh, developments or many tools applied and everything is done. So increasing productivity won't be like drastic increase. We can't increase
Yeah, yeah,
drastically
is
overnight.
there. See, yeah, yeah. See, now to shave off around, say, 2 minutes of assembly time of a car, you have to do hell of a job. That is true
Yes, sir.
because it is almost a matured industry. So you, unless you totally create a paradigm shift like Tesla. See, for example, Tesla, he has created a paradigm shift like he went for an electric motor driven car. So what happened? The total assembly time of car has what was drastically cut down because the prime mover assembly of IC engine has around 2000 parts, But whereas the price more of an electric driven car like Tesla Motors has only 20 parts. So
Yes.
assembly of electric motor doesn't take much time. And here, since there are very few moving parts in an electric motor, because there are no camshaft, there is no crankshaft, then all valve movements, everything. Whereas in electric motor, almost there are no, except for rotor, nothing moves, and that too plain. So the maintenance and everything that's why Tesla is giving a lifetime warranty straight away. So unless you come up with some kind of paradigm shift, like Tesla, increasing productivity is not a simple job. So
Yes,
that's
sir.
why if Toyota has become number one automobile company in IC engines, IC driven instead of electric motor, it is because of they have a very stringent way of doing things. Their success is not fluke, Toyota. But whereas Tesla's success is mainly due to he has come up with this problem with a totally a new outlook. His he like for example now why most of the automobile companies is not able to catch up with Tesla is most of the guys are trying to retrofit their IC engine driven cars with electric driven, and that is what what Elon Musk is he's laughing at them, saying that like you can't, if you want to really come up with an electric
There
driven
should be
car,
complete redesign, right?
you have to totally come with a fresh mind. Okay, so increasing productivity, as you say, is now a bit challenge. You have to do a lot of homework. It is not as simple as Henry Ford's time.
Also, in increasing productivity can't be like theoretical anymore because all the theoretical concepts were covered. So there should be trial and error also, no, sir.
What you said?
We can estimate the cost and everything, but we can't estimate time very efficiently
Uh,
unless we do. Because we calculate 30 time, no, sir, in the previous example, last examples.
uh,
We may design everything and choose an optimal way
hmm,
to process optimal order and everything. But in practical, it's there may be some delays.
yes, yes,
So the tuck time will be not the ideal one. There will be many challenges. So there
yes.
should be trial and error also, right?
A bit of trial and error is there. Yes. See, that's why mechanical engineering, that is what I say, it is tougher than computer science. See, you can come up with versions later with simple modifications in the software, but any modification in the part is a hell of a job. So, and that too, you can't. Sometimes you may not be sometimes you are not a genius, na, to see all the kind of exigencies that might come up, right? So sometimes your supplier might give a faulty part, just like uh, Toyota has recalled 1 million cars because some clutch supplied by some ancillary unit proved to be faulty. Even Toyota has faced a lot of quality issues. So running a automobile company is not a joke. That too, it is a complex product, right?
Yes, sir.
Is it? So we will continue our discussion for in the next class. Okay.
So someone asked few things in chat box.
What is it? Toyota is spending heavily in hydrogen rather than electric car. No, this is all like, see, hydrogen is very far away from now to use it as a fuel. Probably they don't want to like see. Part of the reason is Toyota has a healthy amount of buffer money, right? They want to invest on a very promising zero emission technology like hydrogen, because electric is a bit it's not environmental friendly in the sense the lithium ion battery, again you have to dispose it properly, because otherwise it will create lot of environmental pollution, whereas hydrogen is a very neat fuel, and probably by 2040 people might insist that even you should ban lithium ion batteries, because for the kind of pollution it might be creating by then. Just like now CFC are banned, fluorocarbons are now banned, huh? Like just like we are banning now plastic. Once upon a time plastic is considered to be a poor man's material, but now we are banning it. Similarly CFCs we are banning it. So probably Toyota might be thinking that in future even there may be a ban on use of lithium ion as a battery material. In that case, that
Sir, but hydrogen is very dangerous to use because like lithium ion may destroy the environment, but hydrogen, if there is even a some fault, little fault also, it can blast
no,
whole
hydrogen is a
car.
very neat fuel, na. Like ultimately, what you get out of burning is like you get only uh, water, water vapor. So I these world records are also fine, but what is happens is how far you have brought down that to a general public, which is safe, because hydrogen has the nasty habit of exploding when it accidentally leaks into atmosphere. So you have to, that is where the real nuisance is coming with the hydrogen. How to store it in a compact form and release it at will. That is where people are breaking their heads. So once that is, people succeed with that, then probably hydrogen driven cars may be more common, replacing the electric driven. Okay. Anything else? Shall we say?
Thank you, sir.
Ah,